During the Shakyamuni Buddha's time in India, 2,500 years ago, among Hindu priests or philosophers, there were a lot of philosophical or metaphysical controversies, like is the universe eternal or not, whether the human nature is good or bad, etc. Regarding that, Buddha told this analogy. Several friends went hunting. All of a sudden, one person was shot by an arrow whose tip was poisonous. When he collapsed, one friend said, "Who shot this arrow?" Another friend asked, "What type of poison did he use?" etc. So what's the most urgent thing at the time, in that moment? Yeah. Take out the arrow and neutralize the poison is what matters. Those philosophical or metaphysical controversy is just like those friends who's asking not that great question. So he said, one thing and the only thing that I teach is human suffering and the path to end it. Buddha repeatedly said that many times. But how could we end human suffering? There are various kinds of sufferings. Some itching sensation when you practice meditation, boring, or restlessness, or losing our loved ones, all kinds of dissatisfaction surrounds our life. We can alleviate suffering in various ways, achieving some goal or changing our environment or external condition, etc. But in order to ultimately remove all suffering and distress, all the realized teachers said we have to know we really are. We have to see into our original mind. Why? Suffering, happiness, dissatisfaction, these are the aspects of our mind. It basically originates from our mind ground. So only when we realize, see into the empty nature of ourselves, we can be free from all suffering and distress. That's what the enlightened masters says. So that's why Buddhism is actually Buddhism is the world. The world was coined by Edward Conze, the German scholar. When he studied and investigated Confucian Buddhist Taoist scripture around 200 years ago, he discovered, unlike Christianity, there is no concept like God, the center, the pillar in Christianity or in Judeo-Christian tradition. So it's not religion, it's some kind of a philosophy or ideology. That's why he labeled that Buddhism, Taoism, in that Confucianism, etc. But Buddhism is the translated word for Bulgyo, the Chinese. Bulgyo literally means the teaching of enlightenment or the path to enlightenment. The path to enlightenment is very diverse. Let's say, it's dark, let's see. We hiked to the top of the Catskill Mountain. There are many trails. We can use various trails. It should be many trails that people use. Why? Some people live on the eastern side of the Catskill Trail. Some people live on the western side of the mountain. So depending on where they live, they better use a different trail. Some people, for example, like Reverend Dosung, who has very good stamina, he may want a trail who is very steep, which is not that long. He just can walk 2 hours to reach the top of the mountain. Some people with a low stamina better use some long trail, which is not steep, even though it takes a lot of time. People's preference is different. That's why sages opened a lot of religious order and created Dharma, because each and every people's level of intelligence or spirituality, the situation, their preference is very different. It should be a lot of teaching. The founding master Sotaesan, his Dharma name, was born in 1981. At that time, Korea was under Japanese rule. From the age of 7, lots of some spiritual questions arose in his mind. Why the sky is blue, something like that, about the natural phenomena. We take that for granted, but it's not the level of children's curiosity. He was so deeply absorbed in that. He asked to his parents, to his teachers. Nobody could answer in a satisfactory way. That's why he dropped out of school. At that time, he learned the Chinese classic from the age of 6. In rural area in Korea at that time, some people believed in mountain spirit. Each and every mountain has its own spirit that governs that area, that mountain. And one day, he happened to hear mountain spirit is all-knowing. He heard that from his uncle. Mountain spirit is omniscient. It really struck his mind. Well, in order to ask my question, I better meet the mountain spirit. He decided his mind at the age of 7. And then, from the next day, he climbed to the top of the nearby mountain, Sambaje Path. Several people here went last year. Whether it is winter or without skipping any day, he climbed to the top of the mountain almost every day. And he did not know how to offer prayer. There are so many methods of prayer. So his way of offering prayer is offer some silent prayer and prostrated to the east. After all, probably the mountain spirit might be in the west. So he turned himself to the west. And he did that almost for 6 years. When he reached in his mid-teens, he became a little suspicious of the very existence of a mountain spirit. Because despite all his sincerity and effort, he did not appear. So he thought to himself, probably he does not exist. He changed his mind. I better meet my teacher. as a human form, I needed to search for my mentor. And he searched for lots of teachers in various traditions, but he could not find out the teacher who could really guide his practice. So searching for his teacher continued like 6 or 7 years. When he reached in his early 20s, because of a prayer, meditation, all kinds of ascetic practice, his mind became really concentrated. His spirituality was really enhanced. So on and off, consciously or unconsciously, he started to be absorbed in meditation, deep samadhi. At the time, sure, he has never heard of the word samadhi. But for example, at the age of 23, he was just interested in searching for universal truth. That's why his wife took care of all those household affairs, including cultivating crops, etc. One summer day, before his wife went out to cultivate the crops, she said at the table, "This is a breakfast and the lunch. Before I come back, you need to finish these things." So he said yes, and she left. She came back after like 5 or 6 years, 6 hours. When she left, he held the spoon with some steamed rice, and he was holding the spoon, entering in samadhi in that way. The whole table was covered by flies. So on and off, unconsciously or consciously, he started to slip into very deep samadhi. And at the age of 26, he attained great enlightenment. Great enlightenment. We hold the Great Enlightenment celebration service on April 28th. In the early spring, he reached supreme enlightenment. First of all, his appearance started to be changed. Before that, he did not wash at all. He was a really smelly person. He did not know he was smelly. And the small hut he stayed, it was so smelly. So during the summertime, many village people did not come near to that hut. They took the detour, actually, to go to the market. And after he was enlightened, he cleaned himself, first of all. And his appearance, before that, he had a kind of lots of skin disease. He did not eat properly. He did all kind of ascetic practice. And he became very clean person, first of all, changing his clothes. And his complexion became very, very bright, a little scary bright. So many village people thought something has happened to him. We do not know what it is, but something has been transformed in his mind. And in his hometown, he started to get some followers. One day he asked one of his students, most of the students were far older than our founding master, "Why don't you bring some religious scriptures, Taoist, Confucius, Buddhist scripture, the Bible, etc." When he read those scriptures, and he exclaimed to himself as well as to the people around himself, wow, past the sages and the saints, all those Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the past realized the truth. They already realized the truth that he realized. But the depth of enlightenment differs. Some people can see 20/20 vision. If enlightenment is opening our eyes, some people can just see, they are not blind, just 10/10 vision. The depth of enlightenment differs. Particularly when he read Diamond Sutra. Sutra means the scripture. Diamond Sutra over there. He said, Shakyamuni Buddha is the sage of all sages. And then he linked. He was not guided by the Buddhist monk. After reading Diamond Sutra, he linked his Dharma lineage to Buddhism. That's why our tradition is called Won Buddhism. This is what he exactly told. Even though I have attained the way without the guidance of a teacher, looking back from the time of my initial aspiration up to my final enlightenment, many aspects of my experience coincide with the practice and the sayings of the Buddha in the past. Hence, I adopt Shakyamuni Buddha as my original guide. In the future, when I initiate my dispensation, I will create in this world a perfect and complete religious order by taking the Buddha Dharma as its core principle. He continued, the teaching of the Buddha Dharma is the supreme way of all under heaven. It illuminates the principle of true nature, solves the crucial matter of birth and death, elucidates the karmic principle of cause and effect, and thus surpasses all other religious doctrines. So he linked his Dharma lineage to Buddhism. And when he was at the age of 29, I think, and he retreated himself with just several of his followers in Pyeonsan area. There are several reasons he would like to take some rest, and also he would like to create some Dharma. He needs some time. One day he asked to his followers, in the future, in order to create Dharma, in what direction, how could we create a new Buddha Dharma? He asked the direction. All the students gave some different answer. At the time, Jung-san, he was a 20-year-old student. Jung-san replied in this way, in the future, our Dharma, the Buddha Dharma, should fit to our daily life, our actual life. He replied in that way. And he said, you read my mind. That 20-year-old student, that boy became later our second head Dharma master, Venerable Jung-san. So Buddha Dharma is a daily life, and daily life is a Buddha Dharma. It is a direction, the motto of Won Buddhism. Under that direction, there are lots of reformative aspects in Won Buddhism teaching. For example, how can we condense all the Buddhist teaching in one sentence. Buddha taught 49 years. Jesus taught for 30 years. Buddha taught almost 50 years before he passed away in his mid-80s. They say this one. Everything is of our mind's creation. That is the essence of Buddha Dharma. But our founding master's teaching, he himself said in this way, the essence of his teaching is, I teach people how to use your mind, how to utilize your mind. Basically, it's the same, or the direction became a little different. And also, the direction of a practice has been a little shifted. But Zen priest, the Tibetan monk, they practice sitting meditation at least 10 hours during the meditation session. However, idea, even though it is a great way, how could a lay person practice in that fashion? It's not realistic, it's not possible. So from sitting meditation to timeless meditation, placeless meditation. Timeless Zen and the placeless Zen. Where do you stay? Some people stay in timeless Zen house. Some people stay in placeless Zen house. In order to recall why you are here, we labored, gave that the residence in their name. Sitting meditation, from sitting meditation to timeless meditation and the placeless meditation. In other words, it means the practice has can be accessible by lay persons who are busily involved in their daily life. There are lots of aspects, but for example, we are very active in interfaith movement. In a little broader way, we say that you are United Religion Movement. Our founding master said that in the very near future, all the religious leaders will work together to better this world. Right now, we have United Nations as a political organization, which works like a strict father. But in the future, he said there will be established a United Religion organization. But we do not know whether it is called the United Religion or not, but we casually call that you are. And they will, which will work like a compassionate mother. In one household, we need two parents with a different role. They will work together to create a really great world. For example, after 9/11, it's already proved without the peace among religions, there is no peace in this world. It's a very critical, fundamental thing. So, for example, in Won Buddhism, we do not enshrine Buddha image. In some place there is a cross, in some place there is a Shakyamuni Buddha image. Essentially, it may be the same, but it is somewhat hard to come to some same conclusion or agreement. But in that pure space, our original mind, why? Since your mind is originally, fundamentally, inherently pure and void clear, that's why in a very comfortable way you can listen to my word and understand without making much effort. Since my mind is originally very clear and clean, that's why I can comfortably say to you, isn't that strange? I can see you and talk at the same time. We all can, because it's the nature of our mind, the purity. In that pure space, all religions and traditions can meet together. And one another characteristic of Won Buddhism Dharma is there is no discrimination between male and the female. For example, as you know, the executive director of our retreat center is a woman, Yantam Reverend Kim. And our third head Dharma master told if the prime master, head Dharma master is the top person, if there are two candidates in the future, one is a male, another is a female, he said if everything is almost equal, the female should become the head Dharma master. And also, if there are two candidates, one is a lay person, another is a priest, lay person should become the head Dharma master. All the popes are Catholic priests, not the lay person. It's a very different Dharma. Our founding master intentionally chose several lay persons among his 9 disciples. 12 apostles of Jesus or 10 chief disciples of Buddhas were all monastics. They were all priests. It's the different thing. The headquarters of Won Buddhism is located in Iksan city. In the suburban area of Iksan, there is a mountain called Mireksan, Maitreya. Mirak is the phonetic translation of Maitreya, the future Buddha, Mireksan mountain. This saying has been carried on that in the near future, around the Mireksan mountain, there will be established 84,000 monasteries. 84,000 monasteries. So one day, one of our senior ministers, Jang San-nim, asked to our third head Dharma master, well, we have heard that saying for a long time, but we just have several monasteries for the last several hundred years. When could we have almost 84,000 monasteries and retreat centers around Maitreya mountain? He replied, 84,000 monastery means 84,000 implied infinite number in the Chinese tradition, in the culture. 84,000 monasteries, retreat centers will be established. That means each and every house will become the practice center. That's what it means. Have you seen this Buddha statue? In front of the Chinese restaurant, you can see this the pot-belly, the Buddha image. It's a future Buddha is a Maitreya Buddha. Pode, it's a Korean pronunciation. Hote, Japanese. Hote Zen master is they say one of the reincarnation of the future Buddha, Maitreya Buddha. You know, just like this picture shows, he's not conventional monk. He did not stay inside the monastery. He always usually slept under the bridge. He loved to mingle with children. He loved drinking wine, etc. He's not the strict figure. He really mingled with lots of average persons. When you go to the Chinese or Korean Buddhist monastery, where do you see the Shakyamuni Buddha image or Jijo or Manjushri Bodhisattva image? You see the image inside the temple, But In the Chinese monastery, this hotel, Bodhisattva, the statue stands at the gateway of a monastery. At the gateway of a monastery, not inside the temple, which is a very symbolic thing. The gateway means between the secular and the sacred. It means in the near future, there will not be any duality or discrimination between lay person, priest, the secular, the sanctuary, etc. Who is a Buddha? Buddha is the person who reached the great enlightenment. Great enlightenment. That's why he became free from all suffering and distress. So, in order to achieve a great enlightenment, you do not have to go to Himalayas or go to India. Don't you think working in some competitive environment in our workplace or living with our spouse is a far more challenging than living alone in Himalayas? That's more hard training. Living with a lot of other people with different personality and preference. So one of the characteristics of Won Buddhism is how we can use Buddha Dharma in our daily life. Sotaesan repeatedly said, the Buddha Dharma, what is a living religion, a live religion? What is a dead religion? The practice of religion that became separated from our real life is a dead religion. It's a dead practice. So in order to attain great enlightenment, in order to become Buddha, meditation is important. Along with spiritual cultivation, we need to hone our innate wisdom. So how can we cultivate our wisdom? There are many paths. For example, right now you listen to my Dharma talk. It's also a great way to hone our inherent wisdom. Or you can read the scripture and contemplate the meaning. Or you can work with some koan or spiritual questions. Or being involved in Dharma conversation is, without making much effort, is a great way to enhance our wisdom. That's why we encourage our lay persons participate in giving a Dharma talk. When you go to the Zen monastery, only the person who was ordained as a priest usually give a lecture, give a Dharma talk. But in our tradition, even beginning practitioners are encouraged to give a Dharma talk. And teaching is important. Why? It is the best way for you to learn. Our current head Dharma master is Gyeongsan, His Holiness Gyeongsan. When he taught in Yongsan University, he taught Buddhist scripture. One of the subjects was secrets of cultivating the mind. It's a Zen text, very well known Zen text in Asia. Even Vipassana meditation teacher quote the passage a lot. He read that scripture and contemplated it for many years, but many parts he could not understand. He could not understand some parts of its text that clearly. But when he taught that scripture for 2 semesters, for the students, everything became very clear in its meaning. the meaning started to reveal itself. So, not just today, so we just encourage our people. I really was very impressed by Duncan's Dharma talk. Likewise, 3 people signed up for tonight's Dharma talk. So